Hello, everyone. I just want to make sure that my voice is coming through all right. If you can hear me clearly, just type in a Y or yes on the or clear on the chat. Okay, thank you very much.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to meet you all. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Right. So I just want to make sure that let's get some ground rules in place. If you have any questions along the way, do let us know by typing it in the chat. And at the end of the webinar, we will have some time that we can go and take questions. Yeah.
Yes.
But in the meantime, it will be great if participants that you can mute your mic. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Thank you all. I'm very happy today that so many people have decided to join us in the middle of the week. It is an amazing Tuesday here in Phnom Penh. And it is great to go over and see so many people interested in this idea of innovation and digitalization in Cambodia. Now, as Cambodia comes out of COVID-19, I think that this is an amazing time for us to start looking at not just going back to normal, but even a better normal compared to where we were at prior to COVID-19. And this is it is an exciting opportunity for us to be sharing this idea of innovation and digitalization with you. I am so privileged that I am joined by Natalie and Sothearoath, from CBC, and Natalie, who created the 6 Eyes of innovation. Now, I've had the privilege of working with both Natalie and Rod, and it is I've learned a massive amount from them. I hope that you also, each one of you, will be able to take something away from this workshop and this webinar. Right, without further ado, let's go over and take a look at what we are going to be looking at today, right? How are we going to be looking at using innovation to increase the success of digitalization? Now, I know for a fact that over in Cambodia, we've been talking a lot about digitalization. We've been talking a lot about innovation. We've seen banks, every single bank has come up with their own personal app. We've seen so many things happen in the last couple of years. It's not even funny anymore. Let me see. There's right now, like when it comes to food and delivery, there's at least 4 or 5 different applications. If it comes to ride hailing and reserving and transport, there's 2 or 3 more, and so on and so forth, right? Everybody wants to get online. And the wonderful thing about Cambodia is that we have kind of like jumped a couple of steps ahead of everyone else. Instead of going into credit cards, it is very surprising that we've gone beyond credit cards and everybody just now uses a QR code and transfers money. And after that, it's almost like it's the day, it's run of the mill now. It's every day for us that almost nobody carries cash anymore, isn't it? So where do we go from here? What else is there when it comes to digitalization? And how do we go over and make sure that whatever time, energy, and effort that's used in digitalization in Cambodia is actually used very well? These are some of the questions that we'll be exploring today. On top of that, we'll also be looking at what is innovation, what does it mean to be innovative, why is it being innovative important, and how does innovation relate to digitalization? Now, at the end of it all, if we have some time, we'll also be looking at how do we build innovation and innovative teams in our companies, right? And Rod, thank you very much. You are amazing for joining us today and sharing with us what your personal journey has been like for yourself at CBC. So thank you very much for your sharing.
Yep, thank Edmund. Yep.
Right. Moving on, let's go over and take a couple of let's kind of like define what digitalization is. Yeah, digitalization is a common goal in organizations, particularly during COVID, when we were all stuck at home. And innovation is also a goal, and a lot of our organizations have used innovation as a goal to create strategic advantage and to meet changing customer expectations. Innovation and digitalization involves combining these two approaches to create more value for our organizations, more value for our clients. So how can we use innovation to increase the success of our digitalization agendas? Let's take a look at it today. Right? So we're looking at what is innovation, what does it mean to be innovative, why is being innovative important in Cambodia right now, how does innovation relate to digitalization, how do we build teams through the 6 I's, and the insight into how Credit Bureau Cambodia use the 6 I's. Right? Okay. It is my pleasure now to go over and introduce Natalie, the creator of the 6 I's of Innovation. And she is also the author of the award-winning book, Yes, You Can Innovate, which is a New York Times which is a bestseller, isn't it, Natalie?
Yes, well, it's one book of the month when it was first published, and it's also won an award, the Bronze Award at the Golden Door. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now I've read through the book. It is really interesting, and there's so many tips and so many ideas in the book. It's incredible. It's such an incredible source of innovation tools and ideas. And I would like to go over and maybe just take a quick, maybe just jump on ahead right now and ask you, Natalie, tell us a little bit about how you came about with this 6 I's of innovation and what spurred you on this innovation journey.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Edmund. And hello to everyone. Great to spend some time with you today. I'm actually from the UK, but I'm zooming in from Penang, the beautiful island of Penang in northwestern Malaysia. And remember being in Cambodia many times, working with the capacity specialists and with CBC and Roth and his team. So it's great. It's great to be here amongst people from Cambodia as well. So yeah, so we're just a very, very quick sort of entry, if you like, into why I invented the 6 I's. I have a background in corporate innovation. So I used to be an innovation director in telecommunications. I've always been in innovative roles, if we like, so bringing new things to market, normally new products, new technologies. But what I found before I set up my own company back in London in 2006 was that we often generate a lot of ideas, but it's not actually just the getting of the idea, it's making an idea happen that is the challenge. And innovation is a curious skill set, actually. It requires all different types of skill sets and mindsets. So I actually left the corporate world and set up a company to help organizations think more about people-centered innovation, how you build great teams, how you build skill sets and capabilities and mindsets to help people to innovate. And obviously now in the era of growing digitalization, that becomes even more important as we're having to work with new technologies and very new ways of working. And all of us have experienced that hugely in the last couple of years. So Edmund, if you want to just go on to the next slide, I can just very briefly touch on the 6 I's for people, and then we can hear from Roth and his story and his thoughts as well. So basically the 6 I's has 6 distinct phases of a journey that ideas go through to create value. Often we associate the ability to be innovative with just the ignite phase, you know, the creative phase, coming up with the idea, the solution. But it's only one part of the journey. We need to firstly identify where the opportunities are, and you know, what's emerging, what's changing on the horizon, and what because of those changes, what it is giving rise to. So that's a really, really important phase before we even start to think about ideas, actually, and spending more time there. And then we've got ignite, which is often associated with creativity and sparking new ideas and solutions, and investigate, which is around testing and prototyping and researching and validating our ideas, spending time thinking them through. Investing in ideas, often completely not even talked about in terms of innovation models. And that's surprising, because without investment, we don't make anything happen, whether it's investment of time or people or money or resources to make ideas work. Then we have implement, which is what I call the hard work of innovation, where we have to build the team, make things happen. We have to have partnerships. We have to create the ability to deliver on ideas. And then we have it improve. And improve is all around optimization and looking at what we already have and thinking, how can we do it differently? And right in the center of the model, we have purpose. And purpose is all about why. Why are we trying to innovate? What is the value we want to create? And if we want to build great organizations and teams, then we need to, there's 2 little triangles you can see that link purpose to each of the I's. The inner triangle represents culture. So having a strong culture of innovation isn't just about a creative culture, although that has to be one element. It's about a culture of implementation, great project management, great execution. It's about a culture of improvement, of continuous learning. It's a culture of investigation, and so on. And then the other little triangle represents process. And process is all about having the different processes in your team and in your organization that enables ideas not to get lost, but to have a way to manage your idea flow so you're continuously bringing value out of new ideas into the world. So that in a nutshell, Edmund, is the 6 I's.
Thank you very much, Natalie, for this really concise look at this holistic model of what innovation is about. Not just talking about ideas and trying to find opportunities, but taking it all the way through to investing, implementation, and then after improving on ideas. Maybe right now, I would like to go over and spend a little bit of time speaking with Rod. And Rod, maybe you can share with us a little bit of what your journey was like, because you recently, and CBC very recently came up with a very innovative new idea of combining digitalization and innovation, didn't you? Rod?
Yep, sure. I mean, actually, I'm very delighted actually to share with you one innovation project that is related to digitalization. And we call that one as a journey towards CBC mobile app, actually. So for those who know about CBC, actually, so we are the credit reporting agency in Cambodia. We are collecting all the credit information from all bank, microfinance, leasing, and rural credit institutions in Cambodia, actually. So basically, for example, those customers, we are fully servicing them, actually. However, we still have another angle that we need to service our end consumer, is a general public. And we work from the challenge, actually. The challenge is that the general public, if they wish to request their own credit report, they need to come to CBC office, physically come to CBC and then request their own credit report. So when our first innovation journey started with the purpose of serving our end consumer better actually. That's why we come up with the idea that CBC, we have only one brand in Phnom Penh. And then in Cambodia, we have 25 provinces. And to enable us to go out to those 25 provinces, we are not able to invest in establish the brand as it is cost more actually. And then on another side, we are looking at, we do have our member who are working across the country. And then we come up with the idea, why don't we explore the idea of working with our member bank and microfinance and trying to leverage all the services throughout the country. As the result, we have a few discussions with our member, and then we develop one platform which enable our member to request credit report, help our end consumer to request credit report. So as of now, I can say that our first journey is that we have AMK, we have Aklida Bank as our authorized agent, which our general public can go to their office countrywide, request their own credit report. This is our first journey actually. However, I can say that the innovation is not stopped during serving the member across the country. Whenever we open up for requesting credit report across the country, we come up with another challenge actually, that the working professional, they do not have time actually to go to the authorized agent to request their credit report. And then with the current digitalization, they want to do everything through their mobile phone actually. As the result, we come up with another idea. Why don't we package everything? Why don't we empower our end consumer to manage the credit file within their hand? As a result, we are able to introduce our CBC mobile app in, I think, 1.5 years before. Yep.
Right. So when you have introduced your, it sounds as if you have gone through the entire cycle of taking of innovation to run through and come up to this particular app at this time, right?
Yep.
And it sounds as if that now, Natalie, if you look at Rod's journey as it stands. Now, and if you break it down a little bit, maybe if you use his journey as an example, how does each part of his journey kind of tie in with the 6 Eyes?
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you wrote about the purpose. So the purpose was really centrally around connecting to your customers, to your consumers, and also about empowering them. You know, you said about the whole thing about empowering them so they have at the touch of their fingertips everything, you know, everything that they need. So in a sense, disintermediating the whole process and enabling them to digitally access the service offering in their own time, their way, on their own devices. So they were completely free of you in that sense. So what was it really that helped you identify the need? You know, sort of, if you think of yourself as the bird flying above everything else, what was it that made you think, wow, there's an opportunity here for us to do something new?
I think, yeah, it's a very good question, Natalie. Actually, I can say that our business model at the first stage, we are focusing on our B2B customer. The bank and microfinance is our, I think, major source of income. And then I think we are trying to explore differently, actually, to diversify our revenue stream as well. And then on another hand, we see a really potential. For example, why don't we touch on our B2C customer? For example, the general public, they do have a need to leverage that service, to use that service. Actually, I think identify that opportunity is enable us to do well. Yep.
Yeah. So in a sense, internally as an organization, you saw an opportunity for growth beyond your current existing customer base, your B2B customer base, and that there's this whole other unserved market really of consumers that you weren't really servicing, and it opened up, the whole idea then opened up a connection, a connectivity to create a whole new market, and therefore access for them, but also value for you. So value innovation in that sense, both for the market market, but also for CBC.
Yep.
Yeah. So what about Ignite then? Where did you get your ideas from? Where did that sort of moment come of generating the ideas?
I think we do have the team inside. Actually, I can say that we do have the management team, we do have the product team actually, and then we come up together and then exploring the idea, and then from the current performance, how we can do something different actually. So I think that is the time that we come up together and then explore those ideas and then we come up with that one.
Did you have to choose some and throw some away or park some? How did you investigate which ones to go forward with and which ones that maybe were okay ideas but not maybe that great?
Okay, I think it's a good question, Natalie, when you point out this thing actually. So sometimes we do have a lot of idea, and then we end up need to select some idea and throw some idea. But in our case, it's a little different actually. We do have a lot of idea, but we need to make this idea come first. Actually, for example, I told you that before we have only CBC office, and then during the discussion, actually we are not able to come directly to the mobile app. Actually, during that time, as a result, we need to do the first step is to make sure that our agent across the country, they can facilitate that product. This is the first step that we need to go. While the second step, we are tapped on the mobile app actually. So to us, all the idea, we need to do it step by step actually.
Yeah. So having that small scale, like prototyping, agile way of working and testing and seeing how it works with what you have with around the application, the mobile application in a smaller way, and then thinking about how it can be used. Was it quite like that? Did you have a sense that you were iterating, going backwards and forwards?
I think, yeah, I think for example, we launched our mobile app is around 1.5 years now, actually. Although we are satisfied with our current feature, but we do have the mechanism in asking feedback from our end consumer, asking feedback from our internal customer. And now we have the idea of improving that feature. For example, now we are being discussed how we can introduce the version to our mobile app in the next maybe 6 months actually. Yep.
That's great. So you actually started with your purpose, which was all about extension of your business model and servicing an unmet need in the market, and moved up to identify to see where the needs were. You ignited your ideas in terms of the apps and some of them that might work, not work, and then you investigated those, and then you went across to improve, got feedback from the market, helped get customer feedback, how you could improve. Then what happened? Did you have to make a bigger investment? Did you have to, what sort of decision-making processes did you use to choose to do what you did?
I agree. Actually, so the critical point is investment. Actually, for example, so I just highlight one point. For example, on the investment, either we can do by ourselves or either we can outsource to the third party directly. For example, so that is a choice. For example, and we decide to do by ourselves. But in some small tasks, for example, that we need to agree as well. For example, if there's a cost if we do by ourselves. So in some small tasks, we need to outsource to some third party, for example, or we need to collaborate with other partners who are skillful on that particular issue, actually. Yep.
Yeah, so the partnering is really critical, isn't it? And I think, we're all finding that, particularly with bringing new ideas to market or trying to do new things, we don't have the skill sets necessarily or the capabilities to do it all. We need to be partnering and influencing. So, I talk a lot about influence being a really critical innovation skill. The ability to communicate and influence, get people on board, have those partnerships, which comes very much in that invest phase, because it's no longer just about the idea, is it? It's about how do you make the idea happen? How do you make it work?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. What about implementation then, Rhodes? How did that work in terms of, okay, so you had some partnership, you did some internally, you had to think about finances and how you'd resource that. So did you have to create a new team, or how did you make it work, and how did you choose the right people?
Yep, I think it's correct. Actually, all those within the organization, we do have the product team actually. However, the product team will be enabled to join with other team in order to create a specific team for example, previously we have a team for mobile app development. This is, I can say that the multidisciplinary team that is teamed up from the business team, and then we have the IT team, and then we have the consumer service team as well. Yep. So those are 3 or 4 teams need to come together in order to lead the mobile app project.
Yeah, isn't it fascinating when you dissect and break apart a story and look at how it happened? And this is what I think is really important when we think about innovating, because people still think innovating is just getting an idea and being creative. But actually, what you're also demonstrating is there's a lot of complexity, isn't there? You need different skills, different experience, technical skills, hard skills, soft skills. All these different elements have to come together, and that it's like you have, as a leader and a manager, you have to be the conductor of the orchestra, you know, bringing in the right people at the right time to do the job, to execute on the initial idea that you had in the first place. So it sounds like you're having to do that, Rose.
I think so, because the journey is not easy. I can say that we need to do multiple tasks. One angle, we need to act as the creator. Another angle, we need to act as the implementer, for example. Yep. So we are so different roles. Yeah.
Yeah. Edmund, any comments from you, or what do you think?
I think it's such an interesting thought, and which kind of which makes it an amazing segue into this. Well, now that we have a model, now that we have a central purpose by which we are trying to go over and like do innovation, it all comes back down to this thing about, do we have the team for it? Is it possible, and how is it possible for us to go over and get a team together? How do we make sure that our team has the right strengths, have the right skills to actually come through together and go through this entire innovation journey? Now, I've worked with Rod before when it comes to CBC's innovation a couple of years ago, and it was definitely a really fascinating experience. But it also seems as if Rod has gone from strength to strength now, and he's kind of like taken and internalized the entire process into his team. That right now, Rod, as Natalie, you have said, that he's now the conductor almost, right? At this point in time, because he knows that his team, certain people have strengths in Ignite. Let's bring that group together, and thereafter, let's get ideas out of them. And thereafter, from there on in, well, can we go over and get people who are a little bit better at investigating and narrowing down ideas? Are there people who are great at implementation and trying to get other people on board in investing? And then at the end of it all, how do we go over and get feedback from the stakeholders and the people who have actually used this app, and then after bring it back into the group, bring it back into the team, and say that, guys, this is where we're going to go forward with, you know. And I love how Rod is now kind of the person that brings in all these people at various different times. Natalie, you have a tool to go over and kind of help people find out about what people are naturally strong in when it comes to their own innovation strengths, don't you?
Yeah, sure. If you want, what I've got actually, and it might be interesting for everyone listening in, is I have my results and Rope's results. So we can actually have a look at how they're similar and how they're different. And then we also have a little bit on the CBC's leadership team too. So yeah, just to show you, this is my results. So first of all, the questionnaire is measuring the perception of your ability, in a sense, your confidence to do certain discrete skills across the journey of innovation. So there's 36 different questions that we ask. And then those questions, your answers are then compared to the population of people that we have collected and, you know, standardize the data and to create normed groups. So it's not just what you think about you, it's what do you think about you in comparison to other people, what they think about themselves. So where you see the percentages on the vertical axis, that is the norm. So I perceive myself to be 80 in the 80 to 100% group of other people who also perceive themselves to be high on identify and ignite. So spotting opportunities, seeing discontinuities, seeing what might be coming up on the horizon, and generating solutions and ideas. I don't consider myself so good at investigate. I'm in the 0 to 20 group with people who also don't consider themselves to be high on that. Medium on invest, a bit higher on implement, and they're not so strong on improve. So if we think of an innovation leadership or management type of style, mine would be, oh, there's an opportunity. Right, I've got a great idea. Let's get on with it. Dive on in there. Now that can be good. I mean, it's very energetic to be around that type of leadership, but the downside from, you know, managing people and running teams and departments was having too many ideas. You know, too many opportunities and not really narrowing down and focusing enough and saying, right, we're going to focus on this, we'll make this decision, etc. So I've had to learn with my innovation style and my innovation skill set, if you like, to play to my strengths, but not to miss out these other areas. So that's when you need to bring in other people who consider themselves to be strong investigators in my case, and improvers in particular, because they will make ideas so much better. So Rode, let's have a look at your results. Quite similar. I think we'd get on very well on the opportunities. Yeah, we'd love it. We'd be just like stargazing and imagining all the possibilities that are around us. But you're you consider yourself a lot stronger on investigate. So I think I need to partner with you. So tell us about your leadership style, your management of how you lead innovation.
Yeah, I think, thank Natalie. I think, yeah, this is true my profile. I think, he's 100% on identifier. So which correct that we can partner together actually. So whenever the profile of identifier, I'm sure that I like visualing or imagine the future, or what we can say forward thinking actually. Yeah, that is the strength of that profile. And I'm sure that investigate is also another area of mine as well, actually, to see whether that idea can be implemented or do some testing, prototyping actually. Yeah, so that is a good point actually. However, there's some challenging as well actually. For example, since as the profile of the identifier, we think we look at the big picture actually. So somehow we miss the smaller part actually, for example. And whenever we look into the forward thinking, somehow we lost the current aspect actually. That is something that I need to learn as well actually, not only looking forward, but to see what are the current status as well. Yep, so this is what I need to learn. And the second thing as well, when we are thinking, when we are visualizing actually, and then somehow it's hard also to share all those aspects with our subordinate, with our team, for example, because somehow they do not fully understand what we are thinking about. So as a result, I need to step back a little bit to see what should be the appropriate communication channel, what should be the way that we need to tap to them to make sure that we do not have any misunderstanding. Yeah.
That's a brilliant observation, actually, because I see it in myself, and particularly when I was working in large corporate organizations, I was always thinking out ahead, and sometimes my boss at the time would say, no, we've got to focus on this, Natalie, just get back, get your head down, focus on whatever you're doing now. And luckily, I suppose, for me in my career, I was drawn to jobs like strategic roles or roles that required thinking about the future. So I could at least put my skill set into those. And now I've been running my own company for many years. But my challenge now is that I have to, I create things like even with this, all of this has taken a huge amount of work, as you can imagine. I had no idea when I came up with the idea that it would take so much to make it happen, and particularly investigate and implement and improve. And so it's good to reflect on your own skill set, and in terms of how you work and how you work with ideas. But then also other people around you, if you're managing people and your teams and your colleagues, what are they good at? It might be quite interesting now, Edmund, maybe we could just ask participants to put in the chat which eye they think their strongest strength is. Do they see themselves as identifiers or igniters, just to get a sense of people in the room? What do you think?
Yeah, I would love to go over and find out a little bit more about our participants. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have got 6 I's: identify, ignite, investigate, invest, implement, and improve. Now, which one of these do you think that you're best at? Type it into the box, and then after that, let's take a look at and let's take the opinions of everyone. Let's give everybody a little bit of time.
Yeah. Edmund, if you go back to the mindsets one, I can just talk a little bit about that while people are doing that.
This one, yeah?
No, the one bit before that.
This one?
This one, yeah. So while you're thinking about yourself, let me just tell you a little bit about the mindsets, which is also as important, particularly as we're working, innovating and connecting innovation to digitalization. Where we have to have very different perceptions in the brain, if you like, and different orientations, different mindsets. It's not just one mindset. There's lots of different ways of thinking. So we have curiosity, to be curious. So Rote and I think we're curious, don't we, Rote? We, identifying, we're very curious people, always asking questions, thinking ahead. And you need that mindset. Otherwise, you never think of anything new. You never have a bigger space to think in. Then we have creativity, the mindset of the igniter, which is all about, that generation of new ideas. We have the critical thinking of the investigator, very different, stand back, more observant, more critical, looking at what could go right, what could go wrong. Courageous mindset of the investor. You have to make decisions. You have to say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to actually make this idea work. I'm going to make sure we've got the resources or the partnerships. Commitment, which is all about building the right teams, necessary skills, and having that sort of resilience to really stick at it with ideas. And then clever, the clever mindset of the improver, being able to see what you're already doing every day, low-hanging fruit of innovation that you could just simply look at and improve productivity and efficiencies, as well as maybe create new stuff from what you already have. And that's why we need that clever mindset. So we've got the 6 mindsets that fit each of those of the 6 I's. I don't think anyone's put anything in the chat though, so maybe people don't want to talk to think about their I's, their 6 I's strength.
Yeah, right. Well, it's always, I think that whether or not they choose to share, definitely they will have an idea about what they are good or not good at. And it will also be interesting that later on, they can probably go over and reflect on this over to the rest of their team. Right. So right now it does seem, as in a bit of a summary, it sounds as if on the one hand, there needs to be that idea of that purpose and a methodology in innovation. right? And then there's another part of it, which really is how do you go over and create that team and orchestrate orchestrate where do you bring in different people and different strengths at different times to make sure that the entire process is where we're going through this entire process successfully. Now, when it comes to digitalization, how do you think that kind of overlaps this idea of digitalization?
Rod, do you want to answer that one?
Yes.
Pardon? Yep.
Rod, do you want to go over and take this? Like, how do you see innovation and digitalization combined together?
Okay, yeah, actually that is if you look at, for example, both innovation and digitalization, I think is correlated together actually. And we say that, for example, innovation is being changed by digitalization. Or another word, we say that digitalization is changing innovation actually. So meaning that I can say that, so currently digitalization is impacting all the business around the world actually. And then that digitalization are also impacting the innovation also. It's also impact on how we grow, how we innovate, how we do business actually. Yep.
Great. And Natalie, what do you think? I have my own personal opinion, but I'll share right after you do.
Sorry, it froze then, Edmund. What were you saying? I heard Rose.
I was just asking, like, where do you see like innovation and digitalization?
Yeah.
Where is that common ground?
I think what's interesting when we think of digitalization is, digitalization is a method, it's a way of doing things. And so in order for us to do new things, whether it's going to have a digital component to it or not, we have to have an open mind to change. We have to be able to stand back from the challenge and say, what is the best way for us to address this challenge or this opportunity? And does a digital component come into it? So going back to Rote's story about the mobile application for CBC, it was considered because obviously you're trying to open up access, a completely new market, create a new business model, give empowerment to people. That had to be a digital and technological solution to enable that. So in a sense, that digitalization aspect is a solution. It's an innovative solution to an opportunity. And there may well be other solutions that don't necessarily have a digital component to them. So that's the way I see that innovation can enable, digitalization can enable different forms of innovation to happen and to support it. And obviously, a lot of it also drives it too. If we think even about ways of working, which we've all been doing, I was doing a speech just before this, and I have cable in my apartment and it's really fast. The whole thing collapsed as I was tethering off my mobile phone for a speech, which was a bit of a challenge. So we've been at home and having to use Zoom and all of these different digital platforms to enable us to collaborate, which then affects us in terms of how we work, how we manage. It affects management itself. All of the philosophies and things that people used to hold very dear to them have been thrown up in the air since COVID-19. Trust, for example, trusting your employees to do the job. Well, if they can't come in, you've got to trust them at home doing their job. So I think there's all of these other things that are sort of come out of digital solutions that then, spurn other forms of innovation.
Right. Well, great. I think very much like you, Natalie, that I think that at the end of the day, when you go over and look at digitalization and if you look at innovation, if you look at what the core of both of them are, it is how do we provide value for the people that we serve in an organization, right? Who are our stakeholders? What do they really want? And how do we then give that value over to our stakeholders?
Yeah.
Right? And digitalization is the means, and innovation is the pathway by which to do it. It sounds very historic, but that's how I think about it.
Yeah, I think you touched on a good point there, Edmund, because what I see happening a lot of the time is organizations jumping on the digital bandwagon of solutioning without actually understanding the problem that they're trying to solve, or they haven't really unpacked and identified who, what, where, why, you know, the whole thinking first, and then ignite a solution that may or may not have a digital aspect to it. I don't know, Rota, if you found that, or has there been a temptation sometimes to just say, right, well, we just got to do this and it's got to be this, rather than, you know, really deploying that identifier?
Actually, I think when we go to the real practice, we do see here, sometimes we have idea and then we go straight forward to the implementation of the idea. Actually, either we do not know the process, or either we do not have much time, actually. But I think it's a good, actually, if we know the process and then maybe just take a few steps backward and try to reflect whether those ideas, when we go to all the process, is there any area which we need more improvement, rather than we rush to the implementation part. Yep.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think that very often when it comes to what I do see around the world is that the instant that somebody comes across a good idea, or that your competitor takes on something which seems to be popular in the market, and then suddenly everybody jumps on the bandwagon, right? We can see this in applications for food, for example, you know, or we can see this when it comes to apps on the phone for calling or reserving a taxi or a tuk-tuk or a ride. Yeah, and suddenly out of the blue there are 5 of them, or there are 7 of them, and organizations sink a lot of money into getting an app out. When, are you sure that that's really the solution? Is that what your clients want? And then what happens is that, well, now that we have the solution, there's no going back from that, is there? We have to go over and make it work. If not, then our board of directors are going to get angry with us. Right? Yeah. So then after they push forward a bit, and then after finally about a year, 2 years down the road, they realize that they have just used up millions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of man hours, and then after it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
And what happens is then this idea whereby the question of, well, is this what your customer, where do we stand in terms of how do we contribute to this entire value chain? What's our value add to our stakeholders and to our clients' environment? And once we figure that out, and then after, of course, then after our customers have a lot of wants, they have a lot of needs. And then after, once we go over and narrow that down to something like this is where we want to be. And then after, then we put our time, energy, and effort and our resources in there. So moving on from identify to maybe even going into investigating the identifier, right? And narrowing that scope down, then we start creating our solutions. that's of course my point of view.
Yeah, interesting.
Right.
So Ruth, can I just ask a question just about your, where you're taking CBC now, into the future, thinking with your identify hat on, with these aspects of innovation, as in its broadest sense, being able to create value and impact out of new ideas, and digitalization as a means maybe to provide some of that. Where do you see yourself going and the organization?
What do you mean by this one, Natalie? Just to clarify.
Oh, just in terms of your future, thinking into the future, what are you hoping for the CBC organization?
Okay, actually, yeah, I agree. Actually, the ultimate goal for us actually to diversify. This is what the very ultimate goal is, to diversify our revenue apart from the credit reporting business actually. So that is the ultimate goal. But in order to reach out those goals, actually, we need to tap to a lot of things. For example, which lay down, for example, apart from the current credit reporting data, what should be the alternative data that we need to tap on? For example, what should be the project that we work with other party, for example, in order to collect all of those information. Yeah, so those are, I can say that it will be a long journey for us, for example, to achieve that purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So it's purpose driven in that sense. You're very clear about what you want to do and why you want to do it, why you need to do it. And therefore, then it's all about building the capability of the organization to deliver on its purpose.
Yep.
So that is like you start there, and that is what drives your decision making for everything, really, whether it's something that's going to be innovative or not so innovative, whether you're building digital capabilities or if it's internal or external, all of those types of solutions and thoughts will come out of the purpose, the purpose that you have as a central guiding principle.
Yep, I agree with this one, Natalie. Actually, everything is served with our purpose. Actually, we need to put purpose at the center, and then all the tool, all the innovative idea, it needs to be served that purpose, whether the purpose is on the short run or long run. Actually, yeah.
Awesome. I just want to go over and take this time to actually move forward a little bit and just take a look at the toolkits by which you have, Natalie, to go over and serve that purpose and create that organization. You have your 6 I's model. You have your individual and team profiles. You have the workshops and training programs, whether it's face-to-face or virtual. But there are also other things like leadership team coaching. There's also like video programs and toolkits. And there's also things like a management platform, don't you? To go over and make sure that this entire organization is ready for moving forward with innovation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's important, for everyone listening in, is to sort of evaluate where you are on your own innovation journey. It's no point like putting a massive innovation management platform into your organization if just getting going and just getting started with managing innovation and thinking about it as a management process. So it depends. The solution depends on what, where you are in terms of your sort of life cycle of growth and the maturity of the organization. But yes, I think if you really want to build strong innovation capability, you've got to come at it at different angles. Like Rote's saying, it's all about the purpose, first of all. I think you really have to think about why you exist, for what end, and what are you trying to do. And then to think about who you have currently that's going to help you enable that, both inside your teams and organization, but also your partnerships and your ecosystem around you that you can reach out to that enable it. It is about an evaluation of that, just like we do skills audits in organizations. It's good to think about the innovation skills of people and think about training people, developing people. I wouldn't do it in abstract to actual real work. So when we worked, remember, together, we were looking at real challenges, weren't we, of the organization, and we learned the 6 I's around the challenge rather than just training people in innovation. So I don't know if you have any comments on that, just in terms of building innovation capability.
Rod?
Jeff, I think that is a good journey, actually, because I can say that it is something that we need to know the model well, actually, which the face-to-face training, for example, that we come up with you guys enable us to know what is our strength, and then not only us that we know about ourselves, but we need to know about our team as well. I am sure that the perfect scenario is having all the management team separate across the eye, for example. But somehow it's hard to have that perfect scenario. But if we don't, it's not late. For example, we need to start working from what we have, and then see how we can achieve the perfect scenario that we don't have. So at least as long as we know our profile and then our management profile, we also know what is the tool, what is the technique in order to talk with them. I think those are the things that I really appreciate from what we have done with you guys, actually. And when Edmund saw this one, actually, I also interesting to see how the innovation platform work, and then how the 6I certification look like, actually.
It's a very interesting journey.
There have been new innovations in the last few years. Yeah, absolutely. Video learning now and all of that. So we have to keep innovating ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to go over and have a quick call out for if you have any questions or comments from our participants, please feel free to type it in. But while you're also typing in, I also want to go over and raise up that I realize that we know that that each one of every organization's innovation journey is going to be different. And therefore, every organization's needs are going to be different somewhere along that journey, right? And so with that in mind, Capacity Specialist has very kindly allowed for us to go over and kind of work together with our participants. And this is only for the people who are here today. That if you would go over and let us know during the survey, or let us know during reach out to the Capacity Specialists, we will have a 1-hour session with the organization and with you, our participants here, and we go over and we're going to go over and try to make sure, and we're going to try to clarify the journey and that purpose for you, and then after from there try to give you an idea of how to move forward with your innovation journey. So only the first 5 sessions is going to be free. After they're going to start charging, and usually we do charge for consultation. So do let the organizers, do let Capacity Specialists know if this is something that's interesting for you. Yeah. Now, that aside, I think that there is going to be, as the last course, well, an hour has really gone by very quickly. So I would like to go over and take this chance. Sorry, there is a question. Is it necessary to get high score on all of the eyes? No, I don't think that there's any human being in the world that can get high score on all eyes. But I think that it is a good idea to consolidate a team that has various different strengths. So as long as your team comes together and your team optimally has eyes, has strengths on all of the eyes, will be good. But it is also a good way to go over and understand that, okay, if your team has high eyes on certain things and you have got certain if you have got certain weaknesses in various different areas, then that's also where you know that you might need to bring in external help. Does that answer your question, Sophie?
Actually, it's interesting, on the thousands and thousands of people that have taken the profile, nobody has strong eyes on every eye. So because remember, it's not just about what you think about you, it's a normed data set. So statistically, it's compared to a population of other people that consider themselves high or low on certain skills. So yeah, there's always different results, which is what we want. We want to sort of see what is it that you can see at tops. But there wouldn't be all 6. And like Edmund said, it's all about teams fit for purpose. You know, what's the team trying to do and what skills do you need to be able to enable it to do what it needs to do? So sometimes you might need a group of igniters together, for example, just batting around ideas. They probably don't have to implement them, but they may well come up with lots of ideas, completely free of any constraint. So it's about thinking, what are you trying to do, and when do you need to pass the baton of the idea to someone else or to another group who have a capability which you don't have.
Right. Thank you. There's a little bit before that, there is any experiences in Cambodia for digitalization. I think that Rod has given us a great example of digitalization in Cambodia. And if you want any more context, or if you want any other way of moving forward with your own digitalization journey, I think working together with capacity specialists is a good way to start. And well, taking up one of the 1-hour sessions to go over and clarify what your purpose is a great way to start. Are there any risks occurring to the implementation or application of the app? If so, how do you protect or mitigate that risk? Rod?
Yep. So
are there any risks when it came to when you implemented the app? Were there any risks that you thought about?
Actually, yeah, I think there's a lot of risk actually. So just for information, actually, I'm sure that before we release something, we need to do what we call risk assessment as well, actually, to identify what are the risks associated with that app. And if you are talking about the current technology or current app, actually, so the key risk is, for example, data breach, for example, or hack, for example. So those are the major risks that we have. And I'm sure that we need to come up with a lot of mechanism, for example, in order to protect that risk. For example, we need to do testing, for example, and then we need to make sure that we have security protection in place. So there's a lot of things that we need to do in order to protect all of those risks. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think that when it comes to any kind of implementation, there is always it depends on how you're going to evaluate your risk, right? And I think that one of the great things about being an igniter is that you can always come up with ideas, because I am an igniter myself. But my problem is that I can never think of downsides. Whenever somebody asks me, like, what are the risks? There are none. It is going to be awesome. That's my problem, and I'm very aware of that. That I am one of those people who will never be able to see the downside of everything. In which case, you need somebody who is a strong investigator. in the team. You know, I think that if I remember my profile well, I think that I'm high on Ignite and I am high on Invest, and then I'm pretty low on everything else. So I can definitely manage to persuade other people to get on board with my idea. I can come up with great ideas. I'm just really terrible at following through with them. And I'm not very good at coming up with like, oh, prioritize my ideas. Oh, I can't do that. And so if somebody's asking me about risks, and there are none, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be awesome. You know, so it's always good to know, at least in your team, who is a good investigator, who is a good igniter, who is a good implementer and investor, you know. So and then you can bring those people in during those times.
And also that the stage of innovation has those things. If you follow the journey map, then when you're in the investigate stage, you are looking at things like that. You have to, you know, otherwise your idea will suffer. So it's really building in these different activities that you need to do so that the idea has a good chance of success. You know, that you're minimizing the fact that it could fail. But you will fail in the investigate stage because you're meant to fail there, because that's where failure is, in experimentation and testing. And then you try again and then you build it out. So yeah, absolutely. So right. Should we finish now, Edmund? Or
yeah, sure. As a quick feedback, ladies and gentlemen, please take up the sessions really quickly. There are only 5 slots available, and then after that we will close. We will close the applications. There's the feedback link by which Marity is now putting in the chat. You can indicate your interest over there, and then we'll arrange a session with you if you're one of the 5. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for your time. We would love to hear from you and to find out about what you think about this session and if it's useful. And if it is, we'll do more. Right?
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Natalie. Thank you very much, Rod, for your participation. Thank you very much for sharing your journey so freely with us, Rod. And we look forward to the success of your app. Thank you very much, Natalie.
Thank you. Thanks, Edmund. Thanks, Rose. Thank you, capacity specialists and everybody for being here today. We wish you well on your innovation journey.
Thank you all very much.